Hi, and welcome. Nancy Sawyer here for Life Coach University for Let's Coach 2023. I'm glad to be here with you today. If you haven't been here with me before, here's all you need to do. If you would like to be coached today, you can raise your hand, go down to the bottom of your screen, see that button that says raise hand, and I can bring you up to be coached. You can keep your camera off if you'd like, or you can turn your camera on. It's up to you. And if you don't want to be coached, but you just have a comment or a question or something you'd like me to maybe talk about, you can put that in the Q&A. So 2 options there to get some coaching and feedback for what's going on in your life today. I'm here for you. I am a coach that helps people to master midlife. I help you navigate through the muddy waters of midlife and all the stuff that it throws at us sometimes. As usual, what I'm going to do is talk about a topic that I've kind of brought to the table, something I've been talking about, thinking about, or that's been on my clients' minds recently. I generally start to talk about something, and then if you have questions or triggers something for you, brings up something, you can put that in the Q&A, and I can talk to you about it, or I can answer a question if you have one. Okay. So I have 2 things to talk about today. One thing is at one of my workshops that I did recently, I had a participant talk about how her mother-in-law does not like her. And she was struggling with the fact that she and her husband had recently moved, and the in-laws live right down the street. And so it had worked out fine when they were living far away, but now that they're right down the street, there's becoming a little bit of conflict. And this person was feeling like, how can I manage this? How am I going to keep doing this? And so we talked about self-care a little bit, because what you know is that there will always be times and places where you're going to have to be around someone who maybe is not your cup of tea, maybe isn't someone you care to be around, or maybe someone they give off the vibe that they don't want to be around you, whatever it is, right? There are situations in life when we do have to be around people who we'd maybe rather not be around. And that whether that's at work, whether that's at a holiday party, whether that's at a family function, whatever it is, it could happen every day, or maybe it happens rarely. So how do we manage that? When we know we're going to be around someone who upsets us, or we just don't like their way of being, right? So what we want to do to manage that, right? We want to manage how we show up in that space. So it might be something like giving some self-care to you before, if you're going over to the in-laws for dinner, let's say, and you know someone's going to be there who's going to has a personality that maybe doesn't mesh with yours. What can you do beforehand to prepare yourself so that you can go over there in a good space and be present for however long it takes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, right? How can you prepare yourself so you can be in a good space, not be triggered, not get upset, not get angry during that time when you're around that person? So what do you need for that self-care? And it's different for everybody. It might be, for me, it would be time alone. I oftentimes, before I'm going to a meeting, a group meeting, or going out into a public space where there are a lot of people around, I require time alone because I need to prepare myself. I'm kind of an introvert. And so I need that time alone to prepare myself. And sometimes I need time alone after those events as well. And that's perfectly fine. That's just who I am. I don't need to change myself into something different. All of these things and tools, right, are about awareness, self-awareness, understanding who you are at your core, and understanding how you interact with the world, and then giving yourself what you need to thrive. We are all different, and we all need different things to keep us thriving, to keep us in a comfortable space, to keep us happy, to keep us feeling fulfilled. So I encourage you to spend that time with yourself and asking yourself, what do I need before I go and do this thing that might drain me, or that might put me in a space to be around people that I'd rather not be around? What do I need so that I can show up as a great version of me for that? You see, all these things are external, right? All these things are external: who we're around, where we're going, how many people are there, what's happening around us. We don't have control over that. We have control over the internal and what's inside. And so if we want to show up as a great version of us, we can envision, how do I want to show up? What do I want to gain from this? How do I want this interaction to go? Think about it before you head over it. Before you head over. We have so much power to create our experience, right? And if we're just running ourselves ragged from one thing to the next, from one thing to the next, we don't take the time to adjust, to reframe, to prepare ourselves. And that's when people sometimes get in arguments, or you blow up, or you say something that you wish you wouldn't have said, right? When we are tired, overworked, overwhelmed, we don't give ourselves the space we need in between things to breathe and to settle. Sometimes we end up doing things that we regret. So I encourage you, if you have to be around something or someone you who's not your favorite, give yourself the care you need so that you can show up as a good version of you. All right, so I just wanted to address that because that came up recently. So the other topic on a completely different level that I wanted to talk about today is consistency. I host a workshop, not a workshop, a group, an online group every Tuesday night called the Compass Club. And our topic this week was consistency, and we had a great discussion around it. And so I wanted to bring some of that here today. You know, we are what we repeatedly do. And some people struggle with consistency. I am one of those people. Some people do not struggle with consistency. Consistency, when we do something consistently, day to day, day in, day out, it eventually becomes a habit. And I invite you to consider, to ask yourself, what habits do you have? What are you being consistent with? And we of course, in the coaching world, we want to focus on the things that are going to lead us forward, that are going to pull us forward, the good habits, the good behaviors, and how to install those in our life. That's what we want to focus on. But I'm going to flip it right now for a sec. I'm going to ask you to consider, what are the things that you are being consistent with that maybe are unhealthy or maybe are not serving you? You know, the big go-to is scrolling on your phone. A lot of people struggle with that. And sometimes we are consistent with doing that at certain times a day. Maybe on your lunch break, you go and you sit down, you grab your food, and then you just go automatically scroll to your phone. What if you could switch that up? Think about something different, a different choice that might be healthier for you, that might be better for you. So the point of this is asking you, what am I doing? What am I consistent with that is not serving me? And how can I change that to something that does serve me? And so if we're going to be changing that, what we have to do, we can't just say, I'm going to stop doing something. We always have to replace it, because otherwise you just have a void, and it's a lot harder to build a new healthy habit. So if there are negative habits that do not serve you, habits that are hurting you or hurting your family or hurting your relationship or whatever it is, we want to identify them. And then what we want to do is we want to understand what causes us to do them. What are the triggers that cause us to do them? So for example, let's just say you want to be on your phone less. Maybe every time you get your lunch, You sit at your desk or sit at the table or wherever you are, and then you immediately scroll on your phone. So if that's the case and you want to change that habit, we have to choose a different activity. So it could be, hey, at lunch, I'm going to get my sandwich and I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go outside and sit outside in the park. I'm going to, rather than eating a heavy lunch, I'm going to grab a smoothie and walk around the lake. What can you do that's new and a healthier choice, a better choice for you than the habit that you currently have? And what we want to do once we begin to do that is you want to be consistent with it. And so when you're being consistent, that does take work because we are actually creating a new neural pathway in our brain. So it does take some work. And sometimes inspiration, sometimes motivation doesn't work for that. It has to be an internal discipline. By the way, when you are trying to build a new habit and you want to be consistent with it, don't beat yourself up if you miss a day, if you screw up a little bit. Give yourself grace. We are all human. We all make mistakes. No one is perfect. And making change in your life is very hard. Okay? It's difficult because we always seek the easy route. Our brain is wired to do that. So it goes on autopilot and we just automatically, we have these habits that we're consistent with. So if we are to break these habits or to choose better habits for ourselves, we need to be consistent. And how can we do that? We want to give you a positive trigger to do that. So if you want to stop, for me, stop nitpicking at my kids every time I walk in the house and notice, because I walk in the house and then I notice, oh, the shoes are everywhere, or the backpacks are everywhere, or dishes are left in the sink, right? How can I stop walking through the door and immediately nitpicking at the kids? Hey, you left your shoes out. Hey, you left dishes in the sink. I do that. I've done that a lot. And so I am trying intentionally to be a happier mom, one who spreads joy, not gloom and doom. And so in that, it's taking that breath before you walk in the door, saying to yourself, all right, there's probably going to be shoes on the floor. There are probably going to be dishes in the sink, but I don't have to be upset about that. I'm excited to see my children. I've been gone all day. They're home. It's summertime. So, I've been gone. They've been home. They're enjoying their summertime. They work hard. They play hard. They go to school hard, and they deserve time to relax as well. So it's a reminder of what your expectations are, and then a reminder to try and be consistent with walking through the door with a smile on my face and saying, hey kids, I'm home. How's your day been? Rather than walking and saying immediately, whose shoes are these on the floor? So how can we be consistent? There are many different ways. You can put a little sticky note in your car, on your bag, in the mirror. You could put an alarm in your phone, maybe. You could put a reminder on your phone. You're going to have something that triggers that good behavior that you're seeking. What is it that triggers it? Maybe for me, it could be a picture of my kids in my car that I look at before I walk through the door. See, what we want to do when we're making change is you want to find what works for you. And sometimes we have to try lots of different things before we find it. So what can we be consistent with? You can try something. And if you find that, for a week, you're trying it, maybe 3 out of 7 days, you get it done. The other 4, you don't. Maybe the following week, you try to go 4 days. And the following week, you try to go 5 days. It's okay to not be perfect. The other thing, when you're trying to build a new habit or be consistent with something that will make your life better, is we have to set a goal that is realistic. So if you say, geez, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in the next month, that's probably not realistic. We want to set a goal that is achievable and realistic. And then you can be consistent with the steps to reach that goal. Getting someone, an accountability partner, right, is very helpful. Is there someone else who can, if you're looking to lose 5 pounds, or you're looking to do a couch to 5K, do a little race or something, or you're looking to be more consistent with what? I don't know, whatever it is. Can you get a friend or someone else to do it with you? Can you find a group of people who will do it with you? You can text them and check in every day. I have that for my running. I have an accountability group. I have 2 other women, incredible women, who I have a texting accountability group, and we text and keep each other accountable for when we say we're going to run or walk or exercise, and then we share when we do it. And it's really nice to celebrate that win. And it's really nice to have someone asking, hey, how'd you do today? So what can you do to get support from other people around you as you're trying to be consistent with a new habit? You can also set a schedule to do it. Maybe you have a morning routine or a night routine. Is this new thing that you want to do? Can you integrate it into a morning routine or a night routine or a lunchtime routine? How can you integrate it into something else that you're already doing? It's called habit stacking. So if you go into, you get up in the morning and you make your bed, and then you have your coffee, and then you go for a run. I just stopped drinking coffee a week and a half ago. And it's so interesting for me because I love the act of having coffee in the morning. I love just sitting and having my coffee, and it has become a habit. And I've had it for, geez, I don't know, quite a few years. And the interesting thing is I've weaned myself off the caffeine. So now the coffee that I drink is actually decaf coffee, but I still like the act of just having the coffee. And I put some chocolate almond milk in it, so it's almost like a mocha. It's so good. But I realized that I was getting more sugar than I needed. Coffee really isn't great for you. It's very acidic. And so I thought I would try to just not do coffee. And because I'm not addicted to the caffeine, that was helpful. And so what I did, I just stopped making the coffee in the morning, and I had a glass of water instead. And it's been fine. And you know what? Actually, I find that I'm a little bit more productive because I don't just sit there with my coffee. Sometimes I like to sit with my coffee and read and journal. And sometimes that I allow myself more time than I really should to do that. So not having the coffee is an interesting thing, because that triggered me to sit and journal and read. So that's something else that I've missed. So because I haven't been doing that, I haven't been journaling or reading as much in the mornings. But that's something that is important to me. So I'm going to figure out how to add that back in and give myself that space. I suppose I can sit with my glass of water, and that's fine too. It just feels a little bit different for me. So I got to figure out what my new normal is. I got to create that routine that makes me excited, that I get excited for, and that I look forward to. Excuse me. So yeah, so when we want to be consistent and create a new habit, we want to create a new routine or add it into our routine somehow. The other thing is, maybe set a deadline. If you're seeking to add a new habit to your life, generally this is how it goes. You start by being consistent, you get some momentum because things start looking better. You start feeling better, perhaps. Maybe you start, if you're going to bed earlier, maybe you feel more well rested. You build momentum. You start to notice some changes. You're like, hey, this is actually kind of working. This is pretty cool, right? So when we have that momentum, we want to keep going. Sometimes what happens, and I was talking about this on my call the other night, is I'll get in a great routine, try something new, do it for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then something will happen. Maybe something happens with the kids. My daughter's going away to do something for a week, or school starts up, school gets out, it's school vacation, Maybe you take on a new project at work, like something happens and then I fall off. And sometimes I completely forget that I had done a new habit. I just revert back to my old habits. And you see, the older we get, I'm pretty old. I've been doing a lot of things the same way for many, many years. So building those new neural pathways and undoing the old habits can be a challenge. That's okay. I want to keep looking to my future and keep reminding myself, who do I want to be? What do I want to do every day? What is the life that I'm working towards? And we want to remind ourselves of that. And that why is very important. Why am I doing this? Why am I making this change? If you're doing it because someone said, hey, you should lose 5 pounds, or because someone said, hey, you should try this, it's worked for me. Hey, I'm doing no sugar. Maybe you should try doing no sugar for 30 days. If you're doing it because someone else suggested it to you, you're less likely to be successful with it because you have to be the buy-in, right? You have to believe fully that you want this. And you have to know why you're doing it. So again, if it's with your spouse or your partner and you want to have a better relationship and you want to maybe stop doing something negative that causes strife in the relationship, you got to remember your why. It's because I want a healthy relationship, because I'm working towards, I'm committed and I'm working towards a great relationship with this person. So you have to know your why and be very careful about making choices that other people say you should do. Oftentimes we do not succeed at that because the buy-in didn't come from us. We have to be fully bought in inside, know our why, know our purpose, know why we want to do this in order to make the change. So if you are trying something and you're not having success with it, maybe take a step back and think about your why. Why am I doing this? I'm going to read a couple of quotes here that support the consistency model. So Robert Collier says, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And then James Rohn says, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. And one more, Octavia Butler says, forget about inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you, whether you're inspired or not. Habit will help you finish and polish your stories. Inspiration won't. Habit is persistence in practice. So persistence is a good word as well. We want to be consistent with these things that we're trying to do. And what happens is, at first we have to put in that energy and that commitment to be consistent. But then the momentum gains, just like I said before, and then that thing becomes a habit. And before you know it, you're not even thinking about that anymore. For me, that's like making my bed. I don't even think about it. I get up, I make my bed every day. It is not something I say, oh, geez, I have to make my bed. I just do it. So what things in your life do you want to just be second nature, that you just do? What things that can help you thrive, that will improve your relationships, that will improve your contentment, your fulfillment, your happiness in life? What things? And of course, at the base of all of these things, of everything we talk about, it's the importance of knowing yourself, your self-awareness, knowing how you interact with the world, knowing what comes up for you in certain situations, and paying attention to that. We want to notice how you react. Notice if you discover that you've missed something, you're trying to be consistent. You know, if I make the coffee one day and have coffee, once you notice that you are off your game or off your plan or off your goal, what happens then? Do you beat yourself up in your brain? Do you have a bunch of negative self-talk telling you you're a failure? Hopefully not. Hopefully you say, I forgot about that. I messed up today. Tomorrow I'll do that. Tomorrow I'll do it the other way, right? Hopefully you can leave that behind, breathe it out, and not beat yourself up. If you have that negative loop in your head, that can be quite challenging as well. There is kind of a battle there for some people. So as with everything else, what are you being consistent with? What are you being consistent with that is healthy for you? And what are you being consistent with that is unhealthy for you? And when I say unhealthy, I don't just mean physically. I mean emotionally. I mean, what are you being consistent with that does not lead you towards your goals? What are you being consistent with that brings you down, that drains you? Do you consistently say yes every time you're asked to work extra? Do you consistently say yes to every invitation, even though you feel you need downtime? Do you consistently say no to every invitation because you have some social anxiety? What are you consistently doing that is detrimental to your life? I invite you to consider that. And once you've identified something, think about what you can do differently. What is the alternative action that you'd like to take that will be healthier for you and make you happier and leave you feeling greater? Okay, I'm going to leave you with those questions. I want to thank you for joining me today. This is Nancy Sawyer. You can find me at nancybsawyer.com. And I will see you next time for Let's Coach 2023. Have a great day, everybody.